Hey everyone, welcome to another anime review. And today we're going to talk about a show that I think is kind of fascinating. I'm surprised more people don't talk about this show. It's called Vivy Fluorite's I Song. So let's get right into it. The plot of the show is that highly evolved AIs set out to eradicate mankind, and they do a pretty good job of it. Like everything's a disaster. Humanity's dying almost instantly. So scientists send an android back in time to change the past, to stop this future from coming true. And the android he sends is a pop singer, which seems like a weird choice, and it is a weird choice. Her purpose is to make people happy with her singing. So we look at this show, and I think how you react to the plot description is a good tell if you're going to like the show. If you hear that and you're like, oh, a kick-ass pop singer who's going back in time to stop the apocalypse, that's going to be so much fun and it could be so cool. You go in with that open mind, then I think you'll enjoy the show. If you're like, that's a pretty generic plot. I mean, like, listen, apocalypse, AI taking over the world, just basic science fiction stuff. And if you don't like science fiction, you're probably not going to like this show. But if you have to go into this show with an open mind and be like, listen, this is going to be a fun time. And then you're going to be pleasantly surprised because I would argue it's even a bit more than a fun time. However, there are some down points in the show. And I do have to mention this at the beginning. It's a gory show at times. Like the opening scene of the AIs killing humanity can be a bit gory. The show doesn't shy away from that in any aspect. So if you will avoid gore, and it also deals with a heavy topics, especially like there's also a suicide within the show. So if either of those are like triggers in any way, or you're uncomfortable with it, or you don't want to deal with a show that has gore or those types of heavy topics, I would not touch this show. However, despite all that, this is a really fun show. The animation is beautiful. The fight scenes are so well done. And when you're in those fight scenes, especially from episode 3 onwards, you just kind of just sit back and you're like, oh, I'm just enjoying this so much. You're just in the moment. And there's not a lot of animations in shows that can do that. And this is one of those. The soundtrack, in my opinion, is one of the show's greatest strengths, which is good because the whole plot, and in fact, a lot of the show revolves around this android being a pop singer. And in my opinion, I love that the show is doing this. I love that it's not a throwaway. That's like, oh, she's just a pop singer. No, the whole point of the show is that she wants to be a singer. That's her goal. And I love the show continuously focuses on that. And that's the development of her character. I think all the characters are very well developed. And I think the execution on the show, for the most part, is brilliant. And we'll get into when it's not brilliant. But for the most part, it's brilliantly executed. Even though we've seen this type of plot before, we've seen this type of story before, we've seen these type of characters before. The execution is really, really good. I think all the characters are likable, which you can't always say with shows. But for the most part, almost every character works in the role they're given. And it's just a good time. It's one of those shows where I appreciate the journey. Because as I was going through the episodes, each episode's there's almost these mini arcs within the first season and probably the only season. But these mini arcs are so memorable and so, in my opinion, well done for the most part. And I just look back on it, I'm like, yeah, I really had a good time. I really enjoyed this part of the show versus this part of the show. But overall, almost all of it works. I said almost a lot. I said for the most part, a lot. And why did I say that? The ending isn't fantastic. As I said, I love the journey of the show, not the conclusion. And the reason why I didn't love the conclusion, I don't think it's a bad conclusion. In fact, I love with a lot of what they did with the conclusion. But here's the biggest problem. It's poorly paced. It's a poorly paced conclusion with some very weird moments. And I think it's like 2 to 3 episodes, and you could definitely cut an episode. They do this weird like take back thing that just doesn't work, in my opinion. I'm trying not to spoil it because, again, this is a spoiler-free review. I just want to give you a taste and see if you want to enjoy and try out this show. But as I said, in my opinion, the ending's very underwhelming compared to the rest of the show. The rest of the show is like a 9 out of 10. The ending's like a 6 out of 10. And the other thing, the plot isn't great. Like, I wouldn't call it bad. I think the themes of the show are very well done, and the show can be deep when it wants to. And there's a lot of good about it, a lot of smart about it. What's not smart about it is if you look at the plot and you think about it for 5 minutes. But I think the show, weirdly enough, usually that bothers me more. But for this show, it did. And I think the reason for that is Again, the journey was just such a good time, and it made me think about all these different things. The themes of the show and the writing of the show is really good. It's weird to say the writing is good, but the plot isn't, but that really is what it is. And as a fan of science fiction, I do really enjoy when science fiction is executed correctly. And I think this is a moment where science fiction is executed correctly, plus has good animation, plus has a good soundtrack, plus has good characters. I look at that and I just had a really, really fun time with the show. But again, there's some back downsides or almost like deal breakers with the show, which I completely understand if someone looks at this as like, man, the ending was so disappointing, or man, the plot doesn't make any sense if you think about it for a second, or there's a really poorly done twist that doesn't work at all, in my opinion. Or even like the gore wasn't for me, or the heavy moments and like were unsettling for me. Like, so this is a show that's brilliant in my opinion, but has a lot of deal breakers. And I really, really enjoyed the show. I think people should give it a try and see how they like it. Because if you like it, it's a really fun ride. But it is a show where it's like, if any of the deal breakers kind of mix with you the wrong way, you're probably not going to change your mind. The show's not going to like change your mind in any way. But I think it has a brilliant setup. I think the characters are great. I cannot stress how good the animation is. The animation is so brilliant. And man, it's just, if you want to know how to do fight scenes within animation or with it, this is the anime to look at. But overall, it's a really good time. Or at least I had a really good time, but I noticed that there's going to be some deal breakers within the show that some people can't get over, and that's completely fair. But overall, it's a really, really fun science fiction series, which also does a lot well. So that's my review. Listen, like, comment, subscribe, join our Patreon, do all this. I'm trying to get these anime reviews more often, and I will do my best with that. But man, I had such a good time with this show watching it, especially the first couple episodes. And once you get, everything except the ending. The ending kind of, but I said so in the review. Listen, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. I song. Now, okay, I could have been a bit more. Okay. In the future, okay, gotta get that faster on it. Singer. It's not a comeback. Comeback. It's just a show that I didn't like that. I think I can do better. More people aren't talking and aren't plot to everything. I get caught up on that. Too caught up on that. I should save that for later. Evolved AI set to out to, or I can do that better. But let's get right into it. So the freeze. Hey everyone, this is an anime review. Nope, did not like that one. Something where it's like you have to, I don't know. Something about that I don't like. This is a show I'm surprised more people aren't talking about. It's a show that I think I find fascinating, and yeah, could do that, but good and also a lot bad. But I do want to. So basically, the plot of this film, Ooh. But before I get into further in the review, I should mention that this show can be very gory at times. Not very gory, but I shouldn't have said not very. And the animation in general is just one of the best from last season. It's not last season though. Ooh, that's such a silly thing to get hung up on though. I'm almost there. Hey everyone, welcome to another anime review. And this, no.